Good morning, it's Father Tom again. It's good to talk to you. I didn't get anything done like that last week, maybe a couple of weeks. It wound up being a good way to keep in touch with a lot of you, whether you're at home or whether you're getting out more now or not. And when I come in my room, I see all the sports memorabilia, but baseball and hockey are both trying to make plans to start up again. It's kind of weird the way they haggle over their immense salaries. Kind of distasteful, really, but see what happens. But more importantly, it's Pentecost week. Now, the Feast of Pentecost is just that one day. It's not like Easter or Christmas that has an octave afterwards. So Pentecost ends with the end of the Mass, but I still think of this as Pentecost week. And we're in ordinary time, but preparing for Pentecost, I thought about the apostles and us, and what I said in the Mass, you may have heard. The apostles went from the roads with Jesus to a little room afraid to the rooftop proclaiming. And I looked at our transition that way. As a parish, we've really been walking with Jesus, literally, very strongly. I think we've been doing a good job at that. Then we had to get shut down completely, pretty much completely. Meetings, masses, everything. And now it's opening up again. So we're back on the roof, and I'll tell you how we're climbing back up on that roof as we go along. We're emerging, and it's very careful. So we are able to have masses again. You've got a lot on that. We're actually putting out an all-parish mailing today, just because I want all the people, whether we see them very often or not, to get the information. I want to be thankful to everyone who came to Mass. They were observant, they were compliant with the mask and other things. The pew distancing work out okay. For our 3 Sunday Masses, Saturday night and 8 o'clock and 10 on Sunday, we've had about 40 at each. For our weekday Masses, we've had 18 or 19, maybe the first couple ones were 30, but as I told them, I don't actually think that everybody needs to be there every day right now at weekday Mass, because we're, as I said, just kind of sort of trying this out for now. But the masks have been completely compliant, everybody in church. We had a little blip about some people removing it down past their nose and leaving it. And I only invited people briefly, take a quick hit, hold on to it, take a breath, but put it back. It's got to say over your nose, or it does not cover what's essential. It's what we breathe out. It's not for your safety of the disease, but it means you can be in church because you're not at greater risk to give it to others. So that's just completely required, compliant, in place, and people have been doing that. We don't like it, but I've been to my dentist. Can't go to the dentist without having the mask in place. You have to remove it when he works on you. The doctors, you know that. Can't walk in the doctor's office. So if you want to see your doctor or your dentist, you have to wear a mask. I don't think you're willing to insist you won't wear a mask and give up your doctor visit or whatever. Well, we're not going to give up our mask either for the sake of that. Just do it. I thought about shoes. Human beings weren't necessarily meant to wear shoes, but we do it every day. We put on socks and shoes, and now it's part of our deal. So for some months yet, it's going to be part of our deal. Just to remind you, this is kind of a trial period. Being in church, there is some risk. The masks do not obviously contain all of our breath and other factors in terms of how this can be transmitted. So there's some risk in coming. That's why I say it's not really necessarily a time for everyday weekday Mass. You wouldn't go to the grocery store every day and expose yourself to that. You're exposing yourself somewhat. We try to make it as safe, as hygienic as possible. You can, of course, as many still are, be at home watching the live stream, even weekdays. We've had a couple of blips on weekdays. I know a couple of times there was the sound, the audio, but not the video. Well, Joe's trained Father Nikolai and I how to start that whole thing up, and it's not always 100%, so we'll do that. But talk to some other dear folks, you know who you are, at home Monday night. Not seniors particularly, but some very serious health issues, and they're staying at home and they have children who are having to observe the boundaries, and I respect that so much. It's hard to do, but we know it's the right thing. And with any kind of issues that you may have, or on the same day about going and you don't feel great or have a cough, it's not a good time to go. Always take your temperature and all that. But when I say we're emerging, well, even from a safe distance, the 3 things that we were walking with Jesus before the shutdown happened were the parish council and strategic planning, which went a long way, almost completed, and the evangelization, just learning to speak the word of Jesus Christ more in our everyday language with people. And the adult ed, the Word on Fire videos that we've shared and had joint sessions on, people in their homes and everything, and a real joy. Well, we're kicking it back up to what we can. We had a great evangelization meeting on virtual Zoom, that kind of thing. I'm getting used to that. We're working on a similar thing with the council to get our planning just so that we know where we're at. The new strategic plan is just about done. I think these health matters are going to put another section or two into the strategic plan. And we've talked about, just again, reaching out to people watching videos, Word on Fire adult education videos. Make sure that you do watch them. Have a phone conversation, a conference call or something, and we're going to be organizing some way that people could share them. Meantime, just so you know, Father and I are continuing to make calls. Father Nikolai is appointed to go out when there's a COVID-19 sickness call. He went the other day again in his full gear with a shield and gown and everything. I've gone on standard anointing calls because I have not been in the rooms with the COVID disease in that way. When someone is not ill or dying of that, I am the one to go to that, and I've done that. Keep you in touch about other things. The Offertory had a very nice show this week. Again, a lot of people coming to church now will drop their envelope in the basket. It's just, we don't pass the basket, we just leave it there. If you want, come at the end of Mass time and run in church and drop it in there. Gentleman just pulled up outside here at the office this morning, Wednesday morning, to bring 5 envelopes of the different things that he can contribute to, including the parish. So we're getting to a pretty good state about that. I want to mention one individual who's getting a note soon, who came and out of his funds or whatever, gave a large gift to the ACA, gave $20,000 to our parish, no strings attached. $20,000 to our parish. That helps because you know by now, we're not having the festival that was passed up. We're not having the garage sale at the same time. That's $40,000 of revenue. So that one gift, John, makes up for so much of what we're missing in our revenues. I want to thank you for that, and you'll get something on that. In addition, the convent is officially sold. It's happened already, so it'll be in this fiscal year. We're glad about that. It is not ours anymore. We don't own it. We don't run it. We don't whatever. No utilities, nothing. It's out of our hands. The money has passed hands into our account. Now that money is going to help with the funds we have to pay in entering the school year. You may remember this complicated thing. When we took in all that tuition, we had to pay a revenue on that. And that kept up the first year, even when we weren't running the school. We paid a revenue percentage to the diocese for the previous year's tuition, and it burnt us, as well as the other parishes, St. Ferdinand and St. Norbert's. So the diocese really worked with us to adjust that, but the convent sale in large part is going to keep us out of what we call a debt to the diocese, that we won't have anything hanging over. So that money is accounted for. Thank goodness it's there. Only other thing I want to for sure mention is, of course, the pained atmosphere is settling down the last night or two about the protests over the death of Mr. Floyd, and not only the protests, but the violence and looting and burning. And I'm sure we all share the same sentiment, all of us, that it aches us, almost kills us, to see that video of how George Floyd died in an unjust way, even though there may have been a law enforcement issue, but it was taken to where he died. And there's a legitimate protest about that, certainly linked up with earlier events, whether they were real law enforcement events or not. But then we see people breaking into stores, no signs about justice for George Floyd, none of any of that. And it breaks my heart to read again in the morning paper. Black people that own stores, people of other nationalities coming here to live the American dream and run a little convenience store. Oh, their stores have been ransacked and ruined. That hurts me, and we know that's beyond any legitimate protest, and we have to do something about that. Now, some would say that even that violence is a sign of the gap of income and opportunity and poverty with people that are doing that. That is not an excuse to me, but I don't think that anyone means it as an excuse. But the point is that some people feel we're going to experience violence until people have a sense that there's opportunity. Some people don't see that as an issue, but a lot of people do. I tend to kind of think we have to keep working at it. What I want to say about it is, if you're concerned about it as I am, the horrible acts of the violence and looting, much less peaceful protests. Let's be part of the solution. I've been in touch with our Social Justice Committee. You remember that Father Steve worked up a great set of dialogues with churches down in the city, African American churches, and some of our senior people were really brave about being part of those discussions. Well, you know this will be discussed for a while, even in North County. There's a long note from Rance Thomas in our bulletin this weekend. You know him for running the Churches United for Racial Equality. So at least track these things as the Social Justice Committee puts them out on the bulletin and on other things. Think about being a part of one of their conversations. They may have things down the line electronically. When we can gather in bigger numbers again, they may be willing to invite us into, whether it's in person or whether it's electronically, to listen to the issues. We're angry, I know that. So let's be part of a constructive solution if we can have any way of bridging a gap so that people who unjustly are being violent and destructive of people's business can stand even more isolated, and that the ideas of justice will be clear. By the way, you know, you hear the chant in the streets, no justice, no peace. Did you know that that came from Pope Paul VI? Pope Paul VI, the towering intellect of a pope in the 60s, I admire him so much. First pope to speak to the United Nations. And as he went on talking to our American community and throughout the whole world, he said, there will be no peace until there is justice. He said, if you want peace, work for justice. So that phrase of his, now there may be another source or two, but I know a lot of it came from him. That phrase of his is what we hear, sort of from a pope. If we want peace, work for justice. And we probably will not have reigning, lasting peace until there's a greater sense of justice. So I think at this time, really, think about it. If nothing else, pray about it. Pray for these efforts. Pray for all the people involved, and pray for us for wisdom and guidance to lead these things. I think that's about it. We're going through other things. A reminder that we cannot have more than 10 people up here. Church is social distanced and masked. Anywhere on our grounds, outside or inside, we cannot have more than 10 people. We've had requests for car parties on the parking lot. We can't do it. Anything else in the hall? We're not allowed to gather more than 10 people inside or outside, even with social distance. I'm hopeful in weeks or a couple of months or whatever, that number might be increased so we could have some kinds of gatherings. I don't know if or when. But we're doing well, we're on the way, we're kicking back up, we're walking with Jesus, we're working on our parish planning, we're working on learning the name of Jesus to speak it more comfortably. We want to educate ourselves in Word on Fire, and maybe the Word on Fire things, we can specify some things in particular on working for justice in a parish, in a community. I commend you to the Lord. This weekend, I know we're going to have Mass. I think there's going to be some information coming at the end of Mass that make sure you watch it by live stream if that's your best way right now. Otherwise, I think there'll be another video next week. Okay, thank you.